Hello everybody, my name is Richard Vigorelli, and this is Vigorelli Institute, and beside me, I have a katana. Well, it's not a real katana, but go ahead and check this out. Alright, now I've had this for a few years, and that is part of today's video. Right? It's actually a Mall Ninja sword. It was given to me as a Christmas present from a friend of mine. Rest their soul. Now, what about this? Well, I am a huge fan of Bleach. It's an anime that came out during the Knots. Really fun show. About a kid, suburban Japan. At least I think it's suburban. I don't know. He's a wee different. Also red hair. Long story short, it involves these things called Shinigami, which is Japanese for death god, going around and saving existence from these things called hollows, which are malignant spirits. Okay, they do this with the help of katana, which can change magically. Okay, they're called Zanpakuto. It's basically a magical sword that is tied to their soul and personality. It's basically an extension of who they are, which takes the whole my sword has a soul thing to a completely new level. I thought it was cool. Loved the show. Well, turns out, a few years back, a brand new kind of re-upman of the series was started. It's called The Thousand Year Blood War. I need to watch it. If you know how, please let me know. I'd like to do it without, risking my computer. Just a thought. Anyway, since I'm such a huge fan, I want to make my own Zanpakuto. So if you want to do this, pen and paper, pause the video. I'll be right here. Got it? Sweet. Okay, let's get on. All right, so all Zanpakuto start out in a unreleased form. Okay, never mind the iconography on this. Okay, just a regular run-of-the-mill katana. Okay, all Shinigami wear a black kimono and socks and sandals. Reasons. Okay, they all got their own personalities, and it's not really tight about them. It's more or less slipped into their belt the way it should be. But when they draw it, it can. Okay, I would draw, but I don't have a lot of space. Okay, you see how long this thing is, right? Blimey. Okay, so when they get a certain level, okay, that is, they have spent enough time with their sword, then they can figure out how to open it, okay, or release it. This is called its Shikai, okay, and that it builds up their strength, and they get some powers with it. It can come in a myriad of forms. One guy has some, call them scythes. Okay. Other guy's got an axe. One guy's got a spear that's broken in two places and joined by canes. Okay. Come in different styles of swords, all of this. Okay, and it's all tied to them. Some of them even have command over elements. Okay? Which could be fun. Now, and one quick little thing here before we really dive in. Just because I've been getting scam calls. What's going to happen is, as they use this Shikai and they get better with it and stronger with it and learn more and more attacks and abilities with it, they eventually hit a point where they come in contact with another opening of it called a Bankai. This is the absolute power of the sword, okay? And it takes them to their highest capable level, crazy freaking powers, all kinds of stuff happens, okay? Well, we're going to do all of that today. So, the regular Zanpakuto, just this. So, meh. Bye. I didn't break anything. Anyway, now, the Shikai is heavily dependent on their personality, okay? And from what I can tell, lore nerds, please dig in on this, put it in the comments, how they died, okay? They died violently, like in battle or something, then their Shikai and maybe even Bankai will be very battle-oriented. If they like died in an ice storm, then it'll be ice-oriented. I feel like I'm missing something over there. We're fine. Okay? And so forth. Okay? So, with me, see, I am not Japanese. Okay? The fact that I have a katana, well, that was given to me when I was going through my weeb phase back in college, as, you know, we all do. And as I became more into myself, okay, really got to know me, I discovered I have a very fantastic affinity for Rome, for Greece, and for Egypt. Well, Kemet. Egypt and Kemet are not exactly the same thing, but we'll get to that. Okay, so logically, because of that, my Shikai would probably take on a form similar to the swords inherent to those ancient cultures. And I so happen to have one right here. Now this one is, of course, made out of wood. I do have a real one of these. Well, it's real. It's what is known as a wasted one, so there's a little bit of a dip here. Okay, this, by the way, is called a gladius. This is Roman. Well, it's not accurate. It is actually Iberian. The Romans stole it. We stole everything. What? We're the Borg of the Mediterranean. Deal with it. Okay? So this is a thrusting weapon. Okay? You don't slash with this. Okay? It's also a short sword. Okay? It's not really that long. Okay? Example. It's about, I'd say, cubit and a half, 2 cubits long. Okay? Cubit is finger to point of elbow. Okay? And that's on me. Alright? So this little guy's probably 2 feet tops. Okay? So, with my fighting style, okay, as this would be used, it presupposes that you are going to have what is known as a tower shield, specifically a scudo. So unless my Shikai opening will create a scudo for me, that'd be the Roman shield, this thing's going to kind of leave me wide open, and I'm going to have to be fast, which means I'm going to have to adopt a completely different style from this, okay, from the regular Kenpo style, okay? No, Kendo, not Kenpo, Kendo, good lord. I'm tired. Anyway, it's probably not going to work very well, okay? So I'm going to have to adopt a side-on, okay, fighting style, which, because it's a short sword, I'm going to have to get in there real tight to fight, which, depending on what I'm fighting, could end real nasty. Okay? The strength of Rome laid in its legions and their organization and their ability to respond to commands, carry out orders, okay? It really wasn't that much in with the individual soldier, okay? So, that brings us to another, okay? My Shikai opening could also be Greek, okay? So, it becomes a chopping weapon, but it'll be single-handed, okay? There's several of these, okay? One of which is called the falchion, okay? Which, modern-day equivalent, machete, okay? So, it's a single-handed blade, and it's hacking, it's slashing. It's not so good at the whole thrusting thing, which Honestly, the katana isn't either. It's a chopping weapon. That's where it really excels. The problem is the falchion is a single-handed weapon, and again, single-handed weapons presuppose the use of a shield. So again, unless the Shikai opening will open up into some kind of shield, like a buckler or something, I've got a useless hand. Okay, so again, I'm going to have to go like this, because I don't want this getting lopped off. Okay, or getting dragged or anything like that. Okay. Well, if we're going to do that, I may as well open it up to a rapier. Okay, that's a fencing sword, by the way, which could be fun. Very fast. All the weight is here on the cuff. And, well, go ahead and watch Shadiversity on that. Love the guy. Here's to you, Shad. It's yay long, and it's built to lacerate the enemy. Okay? Slash opponent. Problem is they don't do that deep a cuts unless you run through and do a nice deep slash. But not so great at it. Okay? Could be an issue with taking out a hollow. Okay? Which is probably why we don't see a lot of rapiers in Bleach. Okay? We do see a thing called a cutlass, though. And that's in the vice captain for Squad 1, which is the guy under the head captain. Okay? He's got a cutlass, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, so I'm willing to bet the rapier is out. So that leads me to my next one. Okay? From Egypt. Okay? Well, Kemet, what you call Egypt. There's a sword. Okay? It's called a khopesh. That's spelled Khopesh. Okay, it's actually named for the sound it makes when part of your opponent's body is removed from their body. I'll let you fill in the blanks there. Now, it starts off with a handle that's about yay big enough for one hand. Then it extends out ever so slightly. Then juts and a curve. Okay? Now, these were originally made of bronze, maybe even copper. So, not exactly the most rigid metal in the world. Okay? So, because of that, they were restricted by the properties of the metal made out of. Okay? And that made them single-handed weapons. But Richard, you say, you don't like the single-handed weapons because of the natural fighting style. Cormac the Mundo. Well, this is going to be made out of steel. Good steel. Okay? That means I can make it a lot bigger and make it two-handed. So my fighting style won't exactly change much, but the style of the sword will. And that will modify how I fight. So what we do is we have two hands for the handle. So the handle's now about yay. Okay. We got a slight jut. We got a slight extension out. Okay. Then a curve. It's going to kind of look a little bit like one of my favorite swords from the series, Wabisuke. Okay. The whole thing will probably be about yay long. Okay. And I'm really into black steel. I think black steel is cool. Absolutely beautiful. So that's what we're going to go. All right. Which also fits with the motif of most of the Zanpakuto being black steel and then a white blade on the steel. Okay. So now, let's see if we can give it some power. I figured out a while back when I was like a teenager that there were 13 elements. What? Yes. And I did that, by looking at every single culture and fantasy world and all of that. There's 13 of them, okay? In my book, Science of Magic, I explain them all, okay? So the powers are heavily influenced by the person's personality and how they died. Well, we're going to lean with my personality here. Two elements that I am very, very close to. Okay? One is air. The other is lightning. Okay? I absolutely love them. They're cool as can be. I think fire is overdone. I think water is boring because I grew up in a desert, dude. Okay? Not a lot of water around. I don't want to base my magic off of water when I'm surrounded by sand. That's dumb. Okay? And earth, I think, yes, the entire ground is your weapon, but it's just, I think it's boring. I'm sorry. Okay? There's lots of others, like shadow and light and all of that. And I did consider going with light for my Zanpakuto, but I've seen the way a couple of the light Zanpakutos behave, and they're mostly like about hypnosis and illusion. Not a lot of like, yeah, light springing out and basically roasting the bad guy, giving him a sunburn, not really a thing. So that wasn't it. And honestly, the ice in Bleach is a bit overdone. We've got 2, arguably 3 Zanpakutos that are like that. And so many others. Okay. And I didn't want to just do a battle Zanpakuto. I mean, you got Ichigo, you got Zaraki, you got the one dude that's the fox. I can never remember his name. And a few others. Okay. So we're going to go with wind and lightning. Now, with this, being that it's a 2-handed Khopesh, okay, this thing's going to be long and it's going to be heavy on the business end. Okay, that reminds me of one other sword from a completely different anime called Inuyasha, the Wind Scar. Okay, so what the fighting style would be is slash, okay, cause the wind, cut, or the cut is the wind. I do a strike and it's 120 miles an hour and it's that big. Well, something more narrow. Business card. Okay? All that air coming right at you. Bye. Okay? Now, naturally, because of all of the friction that's going to cause an atmosphere, it's going to generate electricity. So I can probably use that. Okay. Now here's the interesting part. As we're moving into wind, wind is a lot of movement. It's very flowy. It's very fluid. Okay. That's why in Avatar, Bagua, the Chinese martial art Bagua, was chosen as the basis for the air nomads, which is what Aang was. Okay. So it's very movement oriented. Okay. So we're going to amend our Khopesh. Okay. Instead of it being 2-handed, I can do another slightly different release where the handle extends out into a staff. Okay. And I'm 5'6", so we'll make it basically a quarter staff. Okay. Or we could extend it out to a full 6 feet. Okay. Quarter staff is 4 feet, by the way. Okay. So that way I can spin it around. Okay. And I've got the Khopesh at one end and a pike at the other. Okay, lots I can do with that. I actually love staff play. Super fun. I excelled in it back when I was doing martial arts in my younger days, when I was also punching trees. Now, that's why my knuckles look the way they do. Anyway, what will happen with that is I can get stuff whirled up and basically create a tornado with my Shikai. Okay? Then that sends along, they duck for cover, and lightning bolt out of the tip of my blade. Okay? Got him. That would be one way. So, well, that's not going to be enough to defeat this guy. He's too strong or too fast, what have you. I activate my Bankai. So, Bankai, boom. Okay. So what would happen is, like any other of the Bankais, there'd be a massive swirl and come out. See, the Zanpakuto takes on every single aspect of the fighter, and the fighter takes on every single aspect of the Zanpakuto. They're essentially one thing. Okay? Well, this is a Zanpakuto of wind and lightning. The next step up, obviously, would be storms. Okay? The question is, does the weapon still exist physically? Or is it everywhere? Well, with my Zanpakuto, I would actually expect there, as the Bankai opens, for there to be a crack of thunder. Okay? And basically, the electrical aspect of it fuses it within me and, lightning god. Okay? Then around the effect area is a big freaking storm. High winds, all kinds of stuff, throwing my opponent off balance, unable to fight back. As a result, I can then unlimited power. And there it is. Okay? I don't know how powerful it would be. There's lots you could do with that. I'd kind of leave that up to the writer for the arc for that. Feel free to dive in if you want. Send it to me. You can send it to me in my email. Links are in the description for my websites. Okay? Well, I think there we are. Again, big fan of Bleach. If you've got a Zanpakuto idea for yourself, I'd love to hear about it. Okay? If you're also a fan of the Bleach and various other anime that was older, please feel free to leave that in the comments. Okay? Love to talk to you about it. All right, I'll be back later with something else, guys. You take care. Bye-bye.